Live. Hello.
Oh, great.
And welcome to the fourth installment of the San Diego Family Mediation Center podcast. And thankfully, we were super excited to start this podcast because we have everyone here. This is our first,
all three of us,
podcast. So just to kind of lead things off, everyone knows by now, hopefully, that the new tax law was put into place and that will affect divorcing clients. So if you guys, you guys are kind of the experts on it. What would you tell a client that comes in saying, how do these new laws affect me? Say they're just getting a divorce right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I think there's a lot that we know, and then I think there's still going to be things that we're going to learn more about.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue for our clients is the alimony deduction, or spousal support. We call it spousal support here in California. But knowing that they've got this year, so any agreements entered into for 2018, spousal support can still be deductible to the person who's paying and income to the person who receives it. But anything starting January 1st, 2019, it won't be that way.
Okay.
Which is important because of the fact that the payor usually has a much higher tax bracket. So now, instead of being able to push some of that money to the payee and have them get taxed at 20% or 18% even, now they're going to be taxed at that higher person's tax bracket, which could be 38%. Which then, of course, de-incentivizes the payor to pay more.
Well, and what they're paying is what they have to be comfortable paying.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, we're able to look at it and say, okay, you might be paying, $3,000 a month, but once you get to deduct it, it really only feels like you're paying $2,500 a month.
Even less than that,
or less.
Think,
yeah, oftentimes less. But I think that's a tool that we're able to use more so, I think, of mediation clients, and they probably would in court. But for us, it's really helpful because it's the best way to maximize money for the family.
Yeah, and I think too, something that a lot of people are scared of is, so when this comes into play or whatever, do they have to have a agreement already made, or if they start mediation but they make an agreement next year? Well, when does that cutoff point happen? Because I know a lot of people have called kind of nervous. If I make an agreement this year, does it affect it? What if we modify? So maybe that's something that we need to address.
Yeah, I think as far as we understand it so far, they need to have an agreement entered by December 31st of this year.
Okay.
So if they have an agreement entered into and filed with the court, and filed, but that could be, it doesn't mean that as far as we understand it, does not mean that their divorce has to be final.
Yeah.
Just that whatever they've agreed to has been put in writing and filed with the courts.
Okay.
So we'll work with our clients who may not start in time to be done by the end of the year to make sure that at least we've entered into an agreement about the support. And you were talking about something earlier.
The modifying, because I didn't realize that was going to have an effect as well. So then if you modify, you are now going to fall into the new tax laws. So if we have a couple and, they are anticipating the support to change before it just completely goes away, we need to pay attention to the fact that really needs to go into that first agreement. Because if they go back to modify, now they're going to give away their benefit. Which
if it's after January 1st.
Yeah, which I can understand the payee thinking, oh, well, I don't have to claim it as income now, so it's a benefit to me to go back to court and try and modify it. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be that benefit that people anticipate maybe people will do, because it's the guideline's going to be different because of the fact that the person paying the taxes on it, and then and then they'll get less.
Yeah, well, and I also think, and some of the other stuff for us to talk about is that the tax laws are changing in general. Right. So it may be that they are benefiting. It may be that they're not benefiting from the tax law changing. One of the things we were talking earlier is that the personal exemptions have gone away, as well as the dependency exemptions. And so depending on what that looks like, I know that there's a lot of talk that because the standard deduction has doubled for both the single filer and married filers, that it wouldn't really matter if the personal exemptions are going away. But for clients that have more children, it may still be an issue.
And clients going through a divorce, it's going to be different because that did used to shift money.
So if they go to then try to modify it later after the January 2019, it may be that, like you're saying, if the pay's thinking, oh, well, I might get more money, it may actually not be that way.
No.
And I think, too, something important to note is, say, if you're a client that has been divorced for a couple of years and you're looking at modification, you'd want to do it this year.
Yeah, and if you don't do it this year, make sure you talk to somebody before you do it.
Right.
Because you might shoot yourself in the foot.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's it's going to be, I think our clients, because they do try to work together. You think of those clients that are taking each other back to court every other freaking month. Like, it's inevitably going to happen to them. And I just can't even imagine the outcomes.
Yeah.
Because of how much of an impact it's going to have on everybody.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be a different negotiation game for sure when it comes to spousal support.
Well, and I think that it gave us more flexibility before changing it, before the change comes into play, because we could be more creative. Like you're saying, especially as mediators, we're able to do a lot of those different things.
And show them that, like, you're going to pay $5,000 a month regardless. Do you want to pay $3,000 of that to your ex-spouse and $2,000 to the IRS, or do you want to pay $4,000 to your ex-spouse and $1,000 to the IRS?
Right. Yeah.
But either way, you're paying $5,000.
Right. Yeah. You know? Well, and usually, I mean, I think we have to say, like, our clients could usually agree that nobody wanted to pay the IRS.
Yeah, they had. Sorry, IRS.
So, they were always willing to pay even if they didn't like their ex-spouse. Yeah. The common enemy is usually still IRS.
Exactly. So it's very unfortunate for them. Yeah. It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it will be. But, January's, aside from this tax issue, January is the most popular time to get to get started on a divorce with filing and everything. So there's just a lot of people kind of coming in, kind of trying to figure out if mediation's right for them. What are maybe some things that they would consider coming in? If someone's even thinking about mediation, maybe what are some things that they need to keep in mind coming in the office?
I think one of the things is that, it's okay to come in even if you don't know where you're at.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to come in and just ask some questions, or we'll explain, what mediation is, and, give them information. That I think sometimes people wait until they're, like, ready. Whereas it's okay to not be ready. Yeah, it's okay to just ask questions. And it's also okay not to be ready. It's okay to come in and ask the questions, but feel like you're not at the point to get divorced yet.
And we do. We have people who call us, a year after we saw them the first time. And that's fine. But I think at least arming yourself with information is always important, for sure. And our drop-in clinic. Our drop-in clinic is a great way to do that. Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday from 11:30 to 1 p.m. You can come into the office just randomly and see our beautiful faces. And we will sit down with you, mostly these two. Sometimes I jump in and we talk about mediation, the process, what to expect, what that's going to look like, cost.
Answer questions that people have, and
give you a chance just to meet us and see if you even want to spend that much time with us.
Right. And it's, who wouldn't?
Exactly. That's the mentality.
But
you never know.
Yeah, and I think it's different than a lot of people too that just check out stuff online. You actually get to ask questions specifically
about your situation. Yeah.
Every situation is different. Every divorce is different. Every divorce has something unique or challenging about it. And so when you can come in and actually get a personalized sit down with someone, I think that's really helpful for a lot of people. So even if you're not sure if you want to get divorced, if you're just like, maybe
I just want to talk to somebody.
Yeah. You could just come in and chat with us, just grab some tea. But there are people who come in and they're like, I'm just having a really hard time in my marriage.
Yeah.
And you might not, you can come in for marital mediation too. We do that as well. So it's not all divorce. So if you just are like, hey, we're having a hard time dealing with finances and we just need some help sitting down and kind of hashing things out and maybe smoothing over some rough edges in our marriage, you could do that as well. It's really about opening up communication between two parties again. And so we do everything.
We do everything.
It's true. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just that. It's just having a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how many times that we've had clients come in, especially when you get the bigger groups that we work with, where there's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 family members, and how much some of the discourse is dependent on the fact that they all thought something different about the same thing.
Right.
Like there was a misunderstanding and they haven't talked in 4 years, and all because they didn't ever sit down and say, well, what did you mean when you said?
Yeah.
Like, and it's terrible.
Yeah. But it's cool whenever people are willing to sit down and talk to each other again. I think that's really the key, is just the motivation behind it. And yeah, so I think that that's a good place to start with if you're thinking about mediation, or if you just want more information, feel free to just even call or email. I'll put our information down in the description. And just come into our drop-in clinic if you want to talk to us.
A blended family mediation, we do that.
Blended family mediation. So
premarital mediation.
There's a lot of different. There's lots of different services. So if you're getting remarried and your
gonna have step kids,
new spouse is going to have step kids, and you and the other parent want to get together and just kind of talk about expectations, I think that's an excellent thing to do for kids. In those type of situations. So we have lots of different options, and I think this new year is going to be one where lots of new clients, lots of new stories. So it'll be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's busy, but that's what we like.
Yeah. This is great.
And it's always, I have conversations with friends who are, like, I'm busy. And they're like, that's not good, because then people are getting divorced, right? And I'm like, yeah, but they're going to do it no matter what.
Right.
And so at least we're doing it in a healthier way.
Right.
And being able to do it in a peaceful way.
Yeah. And it's not like, like we said before, the majority of our clients are divorced, but it's not always.
Yeah.
And we've had some people reconcile during mediation. So
absolutely.
It's possible.
And even if they do get divorced, there's still a lot of laughing.
Right.
Like we have a good time.
Right.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Getting divorced.
Not every time.
I think one of the things is a lot of people think of divorce as an end of the marriage, which technically it is, but it's also a new beginning, and you get to kind of explore yourself in a new way that you didn't have before. So.
And a new beginning between those two people if they're going to continue to co-parent.
Right.
It's just, and we do help with that. We help kind of set up what is the new foundation going to look like.
Right.
We're not trying to resolve your marriage. If you come in to get divorced, we're not going to try and convince you to stay married, but we're going to try and help resolve the issues that have brought you here so you can go forward and be healthy co-parents.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I think it's needed. Well, I think that's about it for our time today. But
so
I know it's so short, but we will have another one soon. We're going to do more of these. I really I think having these roundtable conversations is awesome, even though it's kind of
a half moon.
It's a half moon table conversation because of the camera, but you know what I mean.
We need a wider angle lens.
Yeah, we need a wider angle lens that spins around.
That would be fantastic.
Like want to make anyone busy.
No, not at all. Well, thanks for joining us, and we will have episode 5 coming up here soon.
Bye.